I never thought a dog could ruin my sleep, let alone my sanity. But on a muggy April night in Austin, Texas, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling while sweat clung to the back of my neck. At exactly 2:14 the barking began, sharp, shrill, relentless like a goddamn fire alarm. And it didn't stop. The next night, same thing. The one after that, worse. I tried noise-canceling earbuds, rain sound apps, herbal tea, melatonin hell. I even tried vodka. But that dog had a built-in timer, like Satan's own cuckoo clock. Every night, it started barking at the exact same time, like it knew I needed to function the next day. I'm Ethan Harper, 32, a freelance software engineer living alone in the suburbs. Quiet, orderly, introverted. I liked silence. I needed it to code. But ever since Kyle Benson moved in next door with his black as death Labrador, silence had become a distant memory. Kyle. The guy looked like he walked out of a Men's Health cover shoot, 6'2", tanned, always in tank tops that screamed, "Look at my delts." He was a personal trainer and some kind of micro-celebrity with 100K Instagram followers. The kind of man who walked through life like the world owed him a standing ovation. The first time I tried to greet him, he barely acknowledged me, just a nod casual, dismissive, like I was a potted plant on the porch. I didn't need his approval, but the insult stung anyway. Then came the gut punch. Rachel, the red-headed art teacher I'd quietly admired for months, showed up at Kyle's place. She wore a soft floral dress, her smile lighting up when he crouched down to buckle her sandal. I watched them from behind my curtain, my heart tightening. Kyle grinned up at her, his hand sliding just a little too high up her thigh. She giggled but didn't pull away. I turned from the window, a bitter taste rising in my throat. I had planned to ask her out last week at the book fair. I even rehearsed how I'd compliment her mixed media pieces, maybe segue into coffee. But I chickened out. And now she was draping herself over a man who probably thought Van Gogh was a CrossFit move. That night, the dog barked. Of course. I sat up in bed, drenched in sweat. At 3 a.m. I stepped outside in a threadbare white t-shirt, leaned against the wooden post of my porch, and stared over the fence. Kyle was in his backyard, doing push-ups, shirtless. His muscles gleamed under the yellow floodlight. Rachel was gone, but the dog was there, barking every time he dipped to the ground like a cheerleader from hell. I called out, "Kyle." He stopped mid-push-up, wiped his brow with a towel, and turned. "What's up?" "Man, your dog. He barks. All night." He walked over, casual and smug, eyes drifting to my shirt, clinging to my body with sweat. "Dogs bark. That's kind of their thing. I work from home. I need sleep." He tilted his head, smirking. "Try hitting the gym. Exhaustion works better than melatonin." That wasn't advice. That was a slap. He walked off, back muscles rippling, the dog following like a loyal demon. That was the night I first dreamed about choking that dog. The next morning, I called the cops. They came. Kyle greeted them like a golden boy tank top. Charming smile, petting his mutt like it was a therapy animal. "He's just barking at squirrels." He said. The officers left with a pat on the back. I got nothing. Kyle had looks, charisma, a body built for thirst traps, and now he had Rachel. All I had was exhaustion and something darker growing inside me. Suspicion, not just resentment, a real gut-level sense that Kyle was hiding something. Rachel's smile had seemed forced that day, like it was plastered on. I climbed onto my roof a few nights later, installing a wide-angle security camera. That was my excuse. Anyway, in truth, I wanted to see what Kyle was really up to. Not out of jealousy, out of instinct. I adjusted the camera toward his backyard, set it to motion detect. 3 nights later, while reviewing footage, I paused on a frame. A teenage girl blonde, wearing a high school t-shirt, stood in Kyle's yard. Her posture was tight, nervous. Kyle stepped toward her. She shrank back. His hand moved to her waist. She shook her head. I zoomed in. Sophie. I used to tutor her for the SATs 2 years ago. My stomach dropped. What the hell was she doing in his backyard? And what exactly was Kyle doing? I hit save. My heart was pounding, not with fear, but with realization I finally had something Kyle didn't know I had. The next morning, I didn't open my laptop. Didn't code. I sat on the floor, staring at the paused video frame, Kyle's hand on Sophie's lower abdomen. Way too intimate for any excuse to hold water. Her expression said everything: discomfort, hesitation, a silent plea to back away. I wanted to act, but calling the cops with a blurry video and no context would do nothing. I needed more proof, a pattern, a connection. Just as I stepped out back to dump the trash, a voice called my name. Ethan. I turned. Rachel stood a few feet away. She was wearing a loose white blouse, and underneath, a black bralette, just barely visible in the morning sun. The light danced across her chest, exposing the curves beneath like a goddamn Renaissance painting. Morning. I nodded, trying to keep my eyes on her face. Are you okay? The other night, you didn't look well. I blinked. I'm fine. Thanks for asking. She smiled soft, disarming, the kind that made you forget everything wrong with the world. For a second, I thought, maybe. And then Kyle walked out of her house, shirtless, just sweatpants. The kind of I just fucked look that didn't need explaining. He wrapped his arm around her waist. She didn't push him off. Kyle looked at me and grinned, like we shared some secret, like he knew. Guess my dog finally shut up this morning. Must be tired out. Rachel laughed and swatted at his chest, playfully embarrassed. I turned and went back inside, behind me. Their laughter chased me like a punchline to a joke I was the butt of. That night, I watched the video again, paused at the same frame, Kyle's hand, Sophie's shrinking body. Then I went online. I dug into Kyle's Instagram, not the shirtless gym selfies, or his dumb alpha male quotes. I looked for context. What I found stopped me cold. A photo of him volunteering at a local high school, teaching life skills to underprivileged teens. There she was, Sophie, in the back row, smiling awkwardly. My stomach clenched. How many others had he mentored? How many had he touched when no one was watching? The next day, I went to the downtown library. I grabbed a random programming book, just a prop, then looked up the school where Kyle volunteered. On their staff page, I found someone I recognized, Elena Brooks, mother of a former student I'd tutored. I sent her an anonymous email, attaching a still from the video. If this looks suspicious to you, I have more. Let me know. Not because I wanted to be a hero, because I wanted him to pay. 2 days later, as I was sorting files, a knock came at the door. Rachel. This time, she wore a tight red dress with a plunging neckline. Her hair was damp. Her skin glistened from a light sweat. A scent of citrus and musk followed her inside, like fog. Can I come in? She didn't wait for an answer. I stepped back, heart pounding. What's this about? She moved toward me, eyes locked. Kyle says you've been spying on his house. I tensed. He said that, yeah, but I don't believe him. I said nothing. She moved closer, her fingers tracing the collar of my shirt. There's something about you. Something real. Her lips grazed my ear. Kyle fucks like he's filming a porn audition. I bet you know how to make a woman feel something. I didn't think. I kissed her. Hard. She kissed back. Her lips parted, her tongue searching mine. Her dress slipped from her shoulders. Her bare chest pressed against me, warm and desperate. In that moment, I knew I wasn't letting Kyle win again. Later that night, I went back to the roof this time, not to watch, but to prepare. I installed a directional mic and a set of ultrasonic emitters. My plan was simple: make the dog bark only when Kyle was home, just enough to annoy the neighbors. Get them complaining. Make the HOA send warnings. Chip away at the illusion of Kyle's perfect suburban life. A man like him built on image would crack if the community turned. But that was only phase one. I still had the video. And so many questions left unanswered. Was Sophie the only one? Did Rachel suspect the truth? And how would Kyle react once the world he built started collapsing, starting with his own dog? Disasters never start with a crash. They start with a crack, a slow, nearly invisible shift. I was the crack, and Kyle had no idea he was living next to the fault line. In the first week, I tested the audio rig each night. The ultrasonic pulses were programmed to trigger only when the backyard motion sensors detected Kyle's presence, specifically when the back door opened. Result 3 days later. Someone posted on our neighborhood Facebook group. Anyone else hearing a dog bark all damn night? I've got a weak heart. I need sleep. Someone please do something. The post blew up 40 comments in under 6 hours. Most pointed fingers at Kyle. He replied smoothly, "Sorry, folks. I'm working with a trainer. We're retraining him. Hang tight." But the barking didn't stop, and the goodwill started to crack. Rachel stopped visiting him. She didn't come to my place either. No texts, no word. I didn't mind. I had bigger things to focus on, grinding Kyle down, night by night. One evening, he banged on my door. I opened it, wine glass in hand, like I'd just been woken up. Ethan Kyle's eyes were bloodshot, his chest heaving. "What the fuck are you doing to my dog?" I blinked. "What?" "He only barks when I'm home." "I've checked. I installed my own camera. Something's off." I let out a slow breath. Maybe he just hates you. His hand shot out, gripping my collar. He yanked me close, and his voice a low snarl. "If I find out you're screwing with him." I didn't flinch. I leaned in instead, whispering, "Maybe you should be more worried about your little mentorships with teenage girls." "Kyle." He froze. His hand dropped. His eyes flickered. Then he turned and walked away. He understood. He knew I had something. The next morning, I got an email from Elena Brooks. "I've seen the footage. Sophie hasn't said much yet, but I'm bringing this to the board. One sentence." That was all I needed to know the storm was forming. I decided to accelerate. Saturday afternoon, I noticed Kyle live streaming a boot camp in the park. A few teenage girls worked out beside him. One of them was Amber, 17, part-time clerk at the local bookstore. I pulled up her Instagram, sent her a message from a burner account. "If Kyle's ever sent you weird texts or crossed a line, save everything. He's being investigated." She saw the message, didn't reply. But later that night, she unfollowed him. 2 days later, I got an anonymous message. I have the screenshots and the texts. I'll testify. But my parents can't find out. Attached was a screen grab Kyle. "You drive me crazy. If I don't teach you how to breathe right tonight, it's a wasted session." I saved everything, compiled it, backed it up to an encrypted drive. I wasn't shaking anymore. I wasn't the tired tech guy who let his neighbor humiliate him in front of a woman he liked. I was the guy holding the match over Kyle's gasoline-soaked reputation. And then it happened. One Monday morning, a patrol car pulled up to Kyle's house. 2 officers stepped out, no handcuffs, no yelling. But I knew what it meant. Game on. Rachel called me later that day. She was crying. "I saw something online. They're saying Kyle's being accused of underage stuff." I kept my voice flat. "Are you surprised? You knew something, didn't you?" Silence. Then I asked, "When you were with him, did you ever see anything off photos, messages?" She hesitated. "Once, there was a picture. A girl in the shower. No face. Young. He said it was from an ex. You believe him?" I exhaled. Then stopped protecting him. She said nothing. I ended the call. Later that evening, the neighborhood group posted a notice: Kyle Benson has been suspended from volunteering at Roosevelt High amid ongoing investigation. Parents, please stay alert. The top comment read, "That dog is still worse than he is." I laughed. It started with the barking. Now Kyle's own dog was part of the reason people were turning on him. And it was only the beginning, but I couldn't get cocky, because a guy like Kyle doesn't go down easy. And I had no idea what he was hiding up his sleeve. 3 days later, I got served, not Kyle, me, a letter from the Austin Police Department summoning me to assist in an investigation involving animal disturbance, specifically Kyle's dog. I stared at the bolded text and laughed out loud. Kyle was hitting back, not with fists, not with barking, but with the one thing he knew how to manipulate better than anyone: public image. He couldn't erase the video, couldn't deny the texts, but he could flip the script, paint me as the unhinged loner harassing a pet, shift the spotlight. I showed up to the station with my laptop, hard drives, logs of ultrasonic frequencies, timestamps, everything. The officer didn't care. He asked just one question: "Did you install any sound devices aimed at the neighbor's dog with the intent to provoke it?" I paused. Then, "Yes." But I had a reason. They didn't care about the reason. I was detained for 36 hours. When I got out, my phone was blowing up: clients, colleagues, old contacts. Some were curious, most were distant. An email from a Seattle-based tech firm I'd been courting landed that night. "We are suspending the contracting process due to ethical concerns." Kyle had played a dirty card, and it worked. I wasn't just on the floor. He'd pissed on me in front of a live audience. That Saturday, Kyle threw a backyard party. The music was loud enough to shake windows. The grill smoke filled the air. Women in tight dresses and crop tops laughed around him. The same guy under investigation was live streaming himself, flipping burgers and flexing for his followers. "Don't live near psychos," he joked on camera. "Some nerd with a radio antenna might turn your dog into a PTSD case." Laughter exploded. I watched from my porch, half shadowed by the dark. Rachel was there, leaning against the fence in a red bodycon dress, her cleavage deep, her wine glass full. Her eyes met mine across the yard just a second before she turned away. I went inside. Something in my chest was twisting, not jealousy, not hate, purpose. I opened the archive. Not Sophie's footage, not the text screenshots, but a different file. A video I had forgotten until now. The night Rachel came over. The night she rode me in the living room, her moans echoing off my bare walls. She was the one who whispered Kyle could never make me wet like this. It had all been recorded thanks to the motion-activated security cam I'd installed months earlier. Not out of malice, just habit, safety. Now, it was a weapon. Not for revenge porn, but for leverage. I sent an anonymous package to the Austin Echo, an independent local newspaper, known for exposing skeletons in suburban closets. Inside, a flash drive with Kyle and Sophie, screenshots of his texts to underage girls, a heavily blurred snippet from the Rachel video, her face obscured, her voice distorted, but clearly showing Kyle's name falling from her lips. The story hit 2 days later. The alpha lie inside the double life of Kyle Benson. The article ripped the facade wide open: Kyle's messages, the grooming behavior, his fake mentorship programs. The video blurred, untraceable, left just enough ambiguity for readers to fill in the blanks. Kyle's brand collapsed. Instagram deleted his profile. The gym dropped his contract. The school issued a public apology for ever letting him near their students. Even his workout bros ghosted him. Rachel got caught in the crossfire. Her identity leaked online despite the blurring. She moved out of the neighborhood within days. No message, no goodbye. I didn't blame her. She was part of my strategy. I had played her. Kyle vanished. No one saw him at the grocery store, the park, the gym. It was like he'd been erased. And for a few days, I thought I'd won. But then came the twist. The USB drive holding my original, unedited video. Gone, no forced entry, no broken lock. Everything else was in place, except that, and only one person had been in my house. Rachel. I texted her, "The USB is missing. If you took it, don't do anything stupid." No reply. Then an email from an encrypted sender. "You shouldn't have dragged me into this. I'll handle it my way." Attached a still frame from the sex tape me on my back, her on top, eyes locked on the camera. My stomach turned. Rachel had flipped the script, and now I was the one holding my breath. I checked 3 times. The USB drive, the only copy of the video showing Kyle with Sophie, was gone. No sign of forced entry, no messed up drawers, no broken lock. Everything in my drawer was untouched, except the one thing that mattered, and only one person had been in my house alone. Rachel. I tried to stay calm. I pulled up the security footage from my home cameras. Nothing. She must have taken it before I installed the new system. Or maybe I let her into the one blind spot I'd never covered my own damn trust. I sent her a message. No accusations. Just blunt. The USB is missing. If you have it, don't be stupid. No reply. An hour later, a new email landed in my inbox from an encrypted burner address. "You shouldn't have dragged me into this. I'll deal with it my way." Attached was a single image, a frame from the sex tape, from Rachel, on top of me. Her body lit by the dim lamp, mouth open, hair wild, staring directly at the lens. No watermark, no threat, just a reminder. She wasn't backing down, and she held the high ground now. 2 days later, another message. This one from an unknown number. "Meet me. Alone." Or the footage goes to Kyle's attorney. And the courts? I didn't ask who it was. I didn't need to. Where? The reply came fast. "The abandoned warehouse, end of Lane Street, 10 p.m. It screamed trap. But I went. Not out of fear, but because I needed to end this. I was tired of being someone's secret, someone's scapegoat, someone's backup plan. I showed up at 9:59 p.m. The place was cold, damp, and reeked of mildew and regret. Rachel was already there. She didn't wear heels or makeup this time. No bralette, no perfume. Just a faded leather jacket and jeans with holes at the knees. She looked human. More than that, she looked angry, tired, and done. "Do you even know what you've done?" she asked, voice low. I stayed quiet. I actually believed I could change Kyle. That if I stuck around, supported him, he'd stop chasing high school girls. I blinked. So sleeping with him was part of that plan. She stepped closer. "I slept with him. I slept with you. I don't need your judgment." "I'm not judging," I said flatly. "I'm just saying you knew what he was. And you what she snapped. Used me as a pawn in your revenge porn masterpiece." I flinched. She had a point. She pulled the USB from her jacket pocket, holding it between 2 fingers. I didn't give it to Kyle, and I didn't delete it. I kept it, so you would know you're not untouchable. I clenched my fists. "What do you want?" She studied me. "I'm giving it to Sophie's attorney, through a third party. No names, no connections to you or me." My chest tightened. "You're serious?" She nodded. "I don't want Kyle disappearing for 6 months and re-emerging with a new Instagram and a podcast about redemption. I want him in prison. For real." I stared at her. This wasn't revenge. This was justice. I don't know what to say. I muttered. She half smiled, bitter and hollow. "Don't say anything. Don't post think pieces. Don't play the hero. Just let me finish what we started. And then she turned, walked out. No dramatic exit, no parting glance, just a woman who had been used, and finally decided to use herself for something right. 2 weeks later, Kyle was officially charged with multiple felonies, sexual exploitation of a minor, possession of illicit images, coercion. More girls came forward, some with stories from years ago, others who had kept their mouths shut until they saw his face on the news. The courtroom was packed. Even local reporters who'd once called him the body positive alpha now ran headlines like, "Fitness fraud faces hard time." The dog was taken by animal control. I stood on my new front porch. I'd moved into a smaller place near the lake and watched the van drive off with the black Labrador in the back. It didn't bark, not once, as if it knew it was just another victim of Kyle's performance. I raised a glass to it, to the silent witnesses, the ones that can't talk. I didn't win, and not really. My name wasn't on the bylines. I didn't get interviews or thank you notes. I lost work, lost reputation, lost Rachel. But somehow, I slept better. Not because the dog was gone, but because I had done something unforgivable for a reason I could live with. And at night, when the wind rattles my windows and the silence feels too thick, I still hear the barking, not outside, inside. A part of me that still wonders, was I a righteous man bringing down evil, or just another predator who dressed his revenge in virtue? They say time heals all wounds. I've learned that's a lie. Some wounds aren't meant to heal. They're meant to stay open like road flares in your gut, reminding you did what had to be done, even if you had to get your hands dirty. 3 months after the charges, Kyle was still in custody, awaiting trial. More victims came forward, girls who once thought they were alone, who'd buried their stories under shame and silence. A few didn't even remember when he started touching. Each testimony cut another slice off Kyle's persona: the ripped trainer, the youth mentor, the local alpha male. Rachel had kept her word. She sent the USB to Sophie's legal team through an anonymous courier. No names, no traces. That video became Exhibit A, and no one in the courtroom asked who recorded it. They only asked, is it real? The system didn't care how it surfaced. And somehow, I walked away untouched, but I didn't walk away whole. Work dried up. No one blacklisted me officially. But whispers travel fast in the tech world. That guy who messed with his neighbor's dog. Didn't he record his girlfriend and get exposed? No one said it to my face. But I felt the distance emails going unanswered. Jobs quietly redirected to other contractors. I shut down my consulting site, sold off some hardware, moved out of the house where it all began, leased a small apartment near South Congress. Concrete floors, one window, low ceilings. I started sleeping again. But not because I felt peace, because I didn't feel anything at all. I began seeing a therapist, not because I thought I was broken, but because I couldn't tell anymore if I was anything at all. By session 3, she asked, "Do you believe what you did was right?" I nodded, yes. Not morally, but practically. She jotted something down. "Do you see any similarities between you and Kyle? That one hit harder?" I looked away. Yes. "And do you regret it?" I thought. Then said, "I regret feeling proud when I watched him fall." She didn't speak, just kept writing. One rainy Friday afternoon, I was sitting in a half-empty cafe downtown, debugging a client's garbage legacy code. When Rachel walked in, no heels, no lipstick, no perfume, just jeans, a worn leather jacket, and a canvas tote bag slung over her shoulder. She looked like someone who'd just been through winter on the inside. She saw me, didn't smile, didn't walk away either. She pulled out a chair across from me and sat down. Neither of us said anything for almost a full minute. Finally, I broke the silence. "I thought you left Austin." She nodded. I did, then came back. Not for you. Just didn't want to run forever. Another pause. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a small object. Kyle's dog collar. The police gave it to me. I figured, you should be the one to bury it. I took it. The leather was cracked, the metal ring rusted. It still smelled faintly of dog fur and yard dirt. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Funny. I don't even hate the damn thing anymore. It was just reacting to being left alone. Rachel looked at me, almost sad, then stood up. If you ever learn how to forgive yourself, you might actually start a new chapter, a better one. She walked out. This time, I didn't chase her. Didn't need to. That night, I walked to Congress Bridge and threw the collar into the river. It didn't splash. Just vanished. No fanfare. No poetic symbolism. Just a man watching a piece of his past sink. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to brace for the next impact. Because I was no longer the guy who listened to barking through the night. I was the man who used that bark to wake the devil and drag him into the light. And maybe, just maybe, I'd sleep like a human again. Not because the dog was gone, but because I wasn't afraid of who I had become. I didn't go to Kyle's sentencing. I'd already stood close enough to the fire. I didn't need to watch him burn. The headlines the next morning told me everything I needed to know. His mugshot was everywhere: orange jumpsuit, buzzed head, cheekbones more prominent now that his protein powder empire had crumbled. The same media outlets that once praised his grind set were now calling him what he truly was: local fitness coach convicted of child exploitation, sentenced to 16 years. 16 years. No bail, no early release, no redemption arc. The courtroom had been packed. Some of the girls testified. Some sent written statements. One simply showed up and looked him in the eye. Didn't blink. Kyle said nothing. No apology, no tears, no last-ditch denial. He just stared ahead like he was already serving his sentence in his head. Good. A week later, I got a package. No return address. Inside a single printed photo. A still from the security video. Rachel on top of me. Mid-movement. Eyes locked on the lens. Her body arched. Caught in a moment she never meant to preserve. Taped to the back of the photo. A small note I deleted the original. But I kept this. Not to threaten you. Just to remind myself that once I believed someone was real. I stared at the image for a long time. Not in shame. Not in lust. But in something closer to mourning. Not for the sex, but for the trust. She was right, I'd used her. Maybe not with malice, but with purpose, with intent. And in doing so, I'd become the very thing I hated most about Kyle. A man who took what he needed, even when it wasn't freely offered. I folded the note, burned it in the kitchen sink, left the photo untouched, let it be a scar I didn't cover up. 6 months later, I moved to a small town in North Texas. I bought out a busted computer repair shop and renamed it Reset. No one there knew me as the guy who took down Kyle Benson. No one whispered when I walked by. No HOA complaints. No barking dogs. Just small talk. Coffee. A quiet life. The bookstore owner next door was a curly-haired woman who read thrillers and loved Clint Eastwood. We talked sometimes. She made me laugh. That was enough for now. One night, I slept from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. No pills, no earplugs, no barking. I dreamed, but not of Kyle, not of Rachel, not of courtrooms or camera footage. I dreamed I was walking through a wide field at sunset. The light was warm, the kind of warmth that wraps around you like memory. A dog ran beside me, not Kyle's, not any I knew. Just a dog. Tongue out, tail wagging, happy to exist. I knelt down, scratched behind its ears, and in the breeze, a voice whispered, "You finally let go." I didn't turn. I didn't need to. I just smiled. Kyle lost everything: his reputation, his freedom, his platform, his future. But I lost too. And unlike him, I chose to live with what I did. Because some justice doesn't come clean. Sometimes, justice is dirt under your fingernails. Sometimes, it's a blurred video and a shattered friendship. Sometimes, it's using a bark in the night to tear down an empire built on silence. I'll never be a hero, but I was the one who did what needed to be done. And finally, I sleep like a man who stopped listening for barking. Because now, I know the real monsters don't bark, they smile, and I'm not afraid of them anymore.